Asia, the voice behind the Strange Days Diaries, lives for the freedom of her Chevy Astro. But in the suffocating timber of Oregon, that freedom shattered into a midnight nightmare.
Stop in Tillamook hoping to actually stay there that night, but they had a bunch of no overnight parking signs, so I had to find something else. So I just took my little van up a little Forest Service road and found a little pullout in the dense forest and parked there for the night. I remember when I parked, I felt a little uneasy, and I'm a big go with your gut kind of girl. Like if I feel uneasy at all, I typically leave. But this was one of those freaking days where I had been traveling and driving all day.
The dense forest canopy swallowed the remaining daylight as Asia ignored her gut instinct to flee. A heavy, unsettling silence descended, leaving her isolated miles away from the nearest paved road.
Quite tell if it was an animal or people. I really couldn't tell. And it was creeping me out. It was all over my van, like around surrounding my van. Nothing seemed to be touching my van or pushing on my van, but I just was hearing noises.
The silence was broken by rhythmic pacing circling the thin metal walls of her van. She lay frozen, unable to discern if the presence was a prowling predator or something far more chilling.
But I somehow was able to go back to sleep. And then a couple of hours later, I woke up to flashlights on my van, I guess. I couldn't quite tell if the flashlights were like flashing on my van or just were in the vicinity, like people walking around at 2 a.m. I don't freaking know. But it was creepy nonetheless. And the light was distorting everywhere because I was in a dense forest. There's trees and bushes everywhere.
Sharp beams of light suddenly pierced the darkness, dancing across the interior of her windows. At 2:00 a.m., unknown figures moved through the brush, their flashlights searching for a way inside her sanctuary.
So I roll my window down, and this man, he's probably in his late 40s, early 50s, and he says, "Hey, like, did you spend the night here?" And I was like, "Yeah, I did." And then he says, "Oh, well, do you know how long we can like stay here? Like what the max amount of time we're allowed to stay here?" And I was like, "I don't know, 8 hours, something like that." And he immediately is like, "Are you single?" And I'm like, yo, that's quite the abrupt change of topic. And I said, no, I have a boyfriend. And he's like, "I don't know, like I just..."
Daylight brought no safety when a stranger pulled his truck flush against her driver's side door. His casual questions about parking rules quickly escalated into a predatory interrogation about her being alone.
"Saw you walking out here by yourself. You're so pretty, blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't know, man. Are you sure you're not single?" And it was giving me such creepy vibes. And he, again, like, is parked right next to me, his windows down. He's looking at me, leaning over. I mean, he's in his car, but he's leaning and trying to like peek in the van and see if there's a man in here or something. And I'm just like, "Nah, dude, I said, "Nah, dude, I'm not single." Although I am single, or at least at the time I was, but obviously I'm not going to be like, "Yeah, man, I'm single. What's your number?" Like, so it's like creepy. And it kind of proved my point of like, you don't want to, as a single solo female, to hop out of the van at 6 p.m. when you pull up to a rest stop, go to the bathroom and nonchalant take a walk, and then hop back into your van because you don't know who's watching you or who's hanging out at that rest area.
The man's gaze lingered, searching the back of the van for any sign of a companion that didn't exist. It was a stark, dramatic reminder that in the wild, the most dangerous shadows often walk on two legs. She suffered, but thankfully her story letting others regarding the situations of forests. Thanks for sharing the scary stories. It's infuriating how some men think they have the right to invade a woman's space. The abandoned camper sought solitude in an old cemetery, part active, part abandoned since the 1800s. She set up her sleeping bag among gravestones as darkness fell. The dead weren't her problem. The living were.
They're starting to hunker down for the night. There's fireflies around already. So, I think that means it's time to explore. maybe I'll be a little less visible, because if you can see, the path is right there. Anybody walking by might be able to see in here. Let's find out. Can't see a thing. Gosh, should have brought my headlamp. This is an active cemetery, but there is a part of it that is abandoned. Those dogs are barking at me.
As darkness appeared and night descended, she explored the abandoned section. Pitch black. She'd forgotten her headlamp. Then dogs erupted, and their barking echoing through the graveyard. They sensed something in the darkness.
I have raccoons. Okay, goodbye. I'll just let them eat the berries. There's a bunch of mulberries on the ground. So if you can't tell, it's pretty dark here right now, but there are kids here, like young kids in the cemetery. And I'm wondering how active this place actually is. Do people come here at night and kind of party in the forest or something? Anyways, I'm heading back to my spot. That dog, here, let me see what I've got going on. Hi. Okay, so that dog kind of ruined it. Not ruined it, I shouldn't say that. The dog barked.
Deep in the abandoned section, unexpected presence appeared. She froze. People were here, at night, in a cemetery. The dogs wouldn't stop. Every bark drew attention to her illegal campsite. She wasn't supposed to be there.
Just in case. But I'm also gonna stop and find out what they're doing, if they're actually watching me or not. Well, I can see them. Maybe they're just walking through. Hopefully. I just don't want them to see where I'm going. Okay. I think they're gone. Let's keep going.
Heading back. That's when she saw them. Figures. Moving through trees. No headlamps. Just shadows. Were they watching? Had they seen her spot?
Fire, because there are people walking around back here. They don't have headlamps on, but like I said in my last video, I do not like being around people in the middle of a forest, especially when it's dark out. So I might pack up and get out of here when I think the coast is clear. Okay, I'm packed up. I'm ready to go. So, luckily I have a friend that lives around this neighborhood, so maybe I'll just go continue this night in their backyard, because I was looking forward to having a nice night. And there's still people here. I can barely hear their voices, but they're like way off in the distance. And there's the occasional dog bark. That dog that was barking at me, he keeps barking. That's where I had the fire. I covered it up. This is going to be so noisy.
She lit a small fire to cook. Minutes later, voices. Footsteps. People moving through the forest behind her with no lights. She killed the fire. Heart racing. They were still out there. Voices fading but never disappearing. She thought it's time to leave.
Here we go. Let's go. Okay, if I go straight, that'll take me to the main entrance, so that's away from where I heard the voices. But man, am I noisy. There's nothing stealth about that. Okay, we're almost there. World's noisiest backpack. All right, where were we?
Packing in darkness. Every sound deafening, she moved toward the entrance, away from the voices. Each footstep crunching debris like an alarm. The cemetery that felt eerie now felt dangerous. Alone among graves, surrounded by figures in the dark. She left before discovering who circled her campsite. Exploring gems traveled solo through Colorado, seeking solitude on public land. After days of driving, she found it. Untouched wilderness, mountain views, complete silence. Just her and her dog, Jem. Completely alone.
This would keep me afloat. The relationship I have with myself, my spirit, the universe, has held me through many layers of life and versions of self who has evolved along the way. And I think the inner work is never really done, and it's something that is a part of our entire lifetime. I had just found one of the most stunning camp spots I've ever been to. Miles of untouched public land, mountain views, peace and silence. It felt like freedom. Sure, there was the usual trash scattered around. There always is, unfortunately. But other than that, it was perfect. Just me and Jem, completely alone. For a couple of days, it stayed that way. Only the occasional logging truck passed by, and then we'd go back to our quiet little world. But by the weekend, more people started showing up. On our way back from our hike earlier that day, 3 blacked out trucks came rumbling up the road. I stepped aside with Jem, gave a polite wave as they passed, and didn't think much of it. But that
For 2 days, peace held with only occasional logging trucks passing. Then 3 blacked-out trucks arrived, and she stepped aside with Jem, waving politely, not realizing that wave would lead to her scariest night.
moment would end up leading to the scariest night I've ever had on the road. That evening, as the sun started to set, the same group started tearing up and down the road in their quads. Loud and obnoxious, yes, but harmless. At least at first. Jem and I ate dinner, locked up the van, and started settling in for the night. Around midnight, just as I started to drift off, 3 loud knocks right at my sliding door glass. Someone just came and knocked.
As sunset approached, the group tore up the road on quads. Loud and obnoxious, she locked the van and settled in, but around midnight, 3 loud knocks hit her sliding door glass in the middle of nowhere.
On my door in the middle of the national forest, so not cool.
I froze. My heart stopped. I grabbed my phone to check the security cameras, but of course, it hadn't been plugged in. I peeked out through my bunk window cover. I couldn't see a thing. And those motion sensor lights I still hadn't installed, well, they're sitting right there on my dash. Regret hit hard in that moment. Then I noticed a faint glow up the hill and realized it was a...
She froze, grabbed her phone, cameras unplugged, motion lights uninstalled. Peeking through the window revealed pitch black until she spotted a faint glow up the hill. A fire during an active fire ban.
Fire, where the trucks from earlier had parked. During an active level 1 fire ban, mind you. And that's when it clicked. These weren't the kind of people you want to cross paths with in the middle of nowhere. So I just sat there, listening, Every sound outside felt amplified. For the next couple of hours, I barely moved. I watched, waited, and checked the cameras over and over. I felt like my heart didn't stop racing until the first hint of daylight. But they never came back, thankfully.
These weren't people to encounter in the wilderness. She sat listening as every sound amplified, barely moving for hours, heart racing until daylight arrived.
Scared the shit out of me, and I was pretty shook up for a couple of hours. I knew I was fine, and if it repeated, then I would have had to take action, but it didn't. They didn't come back, and I saw the little idiots this morning that I'm pretty sure it was them, and most of them were leaving, so we're just driving deeper into this pass. There's about an hour and 35 minutes worth of road until you get to Vail, so I'm gonna try to find a spot to camp tonight, and then we're gonna go into Vail tomorrow.
We're here, Mama.
I can't help but feel frustrated knowing that if I were a man or with one, that they likely would not have done this. And to be clear, this didn't happen because solo females shouldn't camp alone. This happened because some people have lost their general respect of other people, their space, and their personal property. At the time you're seeing this footage, it's been 3 months since the incident, and I still move differently to this day. I'm not afraid, but I am more cautious. While this won't stop me from solo traveling, it has definitely made me hyper aware of who comes around while I'm camping in the wild, and it has led me to take more precautions in regards to visibility. With all of this being shared, it's important to note that this incident is not the norm throughout this full-time travel journey for me. Nothing like this has happened since, but if it does, I am confident that I can handle whatever comes my way by trusting my gut. Mine and Jim.
By morning, she drove deeper into the forest. 3 months later, she still moves differently, more cautious, hyper-aware, but that midnight knock changed everything about how she camps alone. I had a knock at 1 a.m., remote conservation land, no cell service. I just yelled, "Conservation officers, we are armed. Identify yourself." They flew out of there. Wandering Gypsy camped solo in the harsh Arizona desert near Quartzsite. She'd been coming here for years, always cautious of rattlesnakes and scorpions. But nothing prepared her for what happened that night.
Here, Quartzsite gets a lot of flooding whenever it gets a lot of rain out here. I've seen videos of literally floods just going through the washes, water going up on people's vehicles. So that's one thing that you have to put into consideration when coming out to Quartzsite and you're finding a campsite to set up camp at, is you do not want to set up right alongside of a wash. And there's tons of washes all over the place. I mean, where I'm at right now, to get back to this area alone, I had to drive through, I want to say, about 7 different washes to get to this area. Now, it's only supposed to rain for 1 day so far. And once I'm at my campsite, I don't really leave. Not unless I go in town to go do errands, or if I want to go explore something, film something. But for the most part, I'm here at my site. So where I'm set up at, obviously there's a wash over there. There's like a small little wash right here. But I'm far away enough that if we do get a massive amount of rain, the water will not reach my bus. I hope. And then we are in the desert, so meaning since today is the only day that it's going to rain, because as I'm filming this right now, it is a Saturday. I do have to pack up the bus on Monday, which is in 2 days, and I have to go in town to do some errands. We are in the desert, so the ground is going to clear up pretty fast. So meaning all those washes that I'm going to have to go.
Desert camping requires strategy. Avoid washes where flash floods happen. She positioned her bus far from dry riverbeds and secured everything as rain approached, knowing the desert demands respect.
And stuff. So, I guess I'll just talk about something that happened to me last night. I can laugh about it now, but I wasn't laughing before. You know, camping in the desert, living in the desert, just being in the desert, period. You don't just have to worry about the weather and the rain and the flooding. There's so many other things you have to worry about. The critters out here. We are in the desert. There's rattlesnakes, tarantulas, scorpions, the wildlife. There's coyotes all over the place. So you always have to be aware. When you're walking around out here in the desert, like the other day when I went to go do a hike, you definitely need to constantly look at the ground when you're walking. These rattlesnakes blend in with these rocks, and they blend in with the ground. So does the scorpions, and so does some of the tarantulas. So, what happened to me last night? Well, in the middle of the night last night, I got up to use the restroom. And when I got up to use the restroom, I lay back down in the...
That night, she woke and lay back down, glancing at the ceiling above her head, a tarantula. Directly above her. Inside her bus. Medium-sized. Fast. Capable of jumping.
Bed, and when I laid back down in this bed, I laid down like this, where my head looked right up there, because I was laying on my back. And when I looked up at my ceiling, there was a freaking tarantula on my ceiling of the inside of my bus, right above my head. Now, if you guys have been following my channel for a while now, I can laugh about this now. If you guys have been following my channel for a while now, then you guys know I am deathly afraid of spiders, more than I am snakes, scorpions, any kind of wildlife. I mean, even a spider that's the size of a dot, I'm deathly afraid of it. I do not like spiders. And mind you, this was in the middle of the night, so meaning my other friend that's here was probably sleeping, and of course I screamed when I saw the tarantula, and I jump up out of the bed, and it did go through my mind just really, really fast. Should I call my friend, wake him up, and have him come over here and get this tarantula, because I'm scared to death. Now, I want to let you know it wasn't a huge tarantula like the size of my hand here. It was like a medium-sized tarantula. So it was a younger tarantula. A tarantula is a tarantula. A spider is a spider. I know that tarantulas can jump. I know that they're fast. And so I didn't want to call my friend.
Her friend camped too far to help. By the time he'd arrive, the spider could drop onto her bed or face. She had seconds to act with her dog nearby, and the tarantula ready to jump as panic took over.
I had to act really fast, because I figured if I would have called my friend, because he is set up camp a little far away from me, because I like to have my space. So I'm like, oh God, by the time my friend gets up, probably gets dressed, comes over here, the tarantula's probably going to jump somewhere, or it's going to scurry off somewhere, or worse, fall into my covers. So, please don't get mad at me, guys. Please. You guys know how I feel about animals. And stuff. And I'm so sorry. I know I'm going to get some slack for this. But guys, I'm scared to death of spiders. And, you know, I have my little one here. She was on the bed. So my reaction was to grab my shoe, my flip-flop, and I did kill the tarantula. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry for anybody that might be offended by that, or for anybody that's mad because I killed the tarantula. But you guys don't understand the fear that I have with spiders. Literally. And you know, those things jump. And I wasn't going to have a freaking tarantula inside my bus somewhere. Mind you, after all that happened, you know, and I threw the dead tarantula out the door, I was up for hours. I was up for hours because I kept staring around my ceiling. I kept looking all over the place. I kept feeling my hair, lifting up my comforter. Like, I didn't get a whole lot of sleep last night. I did not. So, you know, that's part of desert life. Part of being out here in the desert. I've been coming out here to Quartzsite for the last few years, and I've never had a spider or snake or scorpion or any of that inside my vehicles. I did get a critter, I think it was like a mouse or something, inside my Jeep.
She grabbed her shoe and killed it, but couldn't sleep afterward. Kept staring at the ceiling, checking corners, feeling her hair. How had it gotten inside? Would there be more?
The spider, there's no way I would have caught the spider. There's absolutely no way. And I was not going to have a spider moving in and being our neighbor inside the bus. I just wasn't. I will get rid of the bus before that happens. And I'm not really familiar with I'm not really familiar with tarantulas. I don't know if they can bite. I don't know if I don't think they're poisonous. But, I mean, they gotta be able to bite, I think, you know. And I get worried more than anything about my dog, you know. So I apologize for that. I'm laughing about it now because I'm thinking about how I was at 2 o'clock in the morning last night with this spider, and how I just lay down in this bed, and it literally, I'm not even kidding you guys, it literally was right here above me, right above me, just sitting there on the ceiling, right above my head. It could have fell on me. Could have fell on my bed. Could have fell on my face. It could have fell on my body. It could have... Ooh. Just shivering thinking about it. So yeah. There's so much you have to put into consideration when you're out here in the desert. Just like there's so much consideration that you have to put out. Give yourself, you know... when you're out in the woods or in the mountains and all that stuff. Desert life is pretty harsh, and you always have to constantly watch your area and look around. You know, the weather today has finally cooled off.
Desert life is harsh. Rattlesnakes blend with rocks. Scorpions hide in shadows. Tarantulas crawl silently. She'd never had a creature inside in years of camping. But that night proved one gap could turn her home into an invasion. Southern Utah's high desert offered wandering gypsy a silent sanctuary. But as the sun dipped behind the red rocks, that silence shattered.
Or behind the rocks. Or wild animals. But I think we're good in this area. No signs of humans. No signs of wildlife. Just hear a bunch of crazy birds chirping. And one of the things I like to do when setting up camp too is scoping out the place, is look on the ground for like wild animal poop. And the only poop that I see on the ground is this cow poop, because Utah is a free range state, meaning the cows are not locked up in the state of Utah. They have all this land in the state to roam around freely in. So all the ranchers, I learned this when I was in Moab actually. All the ranchers, what they do is, depending on seasons, so like when it gets really hot somewhere, then they'll go gather up all the cows and they'll move the cows somewhere cooler. And then when it's cold, like freezing temperatures, snow and all that, they move the cows down to lower elevation where it's not freezing. So yeah, so this is I didn't see any cows in the area.
Asia cleared the perimeter, searching for any sign of human presence or predatory tracks in the dust. Finding only empty desert, she convinced herself the isolation was a shield rather than a trap.
The ceiling, but yeah. So this is a little home, and you know, if you guys have followed the channel for a while, my other Jeep that I had less storage room in the other Jeep. This Jeep, the way I built out the inside and the way that I organized everything in here and stuff, I have a lot more room. So the other Jeep, whenever I would have to travel from one place to the next, I had to put a bunch of stuff on top of the bed. Kind of like with an RV. When you're traveling in an RV, you have to take things down, put stuff on your bed, and so I had to do that with the other Jeep. But this Jeep, because the way that I did the build on this Jeep and the way I organized everything, I don't really have to put too much on the bed when I'm traveling now. So the only thing I really have to do when I get to the camp spot is park the Jeep, make sure it's leveled, and I have a leveler that I put in the middle of back here to make sure that it's leveled out for me to sleep comfortably. And then I just have to move the pillow, because when I'm driving, I don't have the pillow right here. I put it down there because little one likes to lay right here and stare at me when I'm driving, but she doesn't really like to do it on top of the pillow. It's more comfortable for her to just do it on the bed, not the pillow. So yeah, this is it. And then, you know, this is my bed right here. Her bed is over here. The other Jeep, she didn't even have a space for herself. She didn't even have an area for her bed. So now she has a whole area with her own bed. Hey, what are you doing? Okay, good talk. And like I said, you know, if I didn't have my hair in the bun, I could sit on top of this bed comfortably without having to bend over like this and stuff like that. But my hair's in the bun right now because it's windy outside, so I don't want to take it down. And then yeah, you know, nighttime comes, I can watch a little bit of shows on my phone, and I have a little.
Inside the Jeep, the atmosphere was a deceptive pocket of warmth against the howling Utah wind. She settled into her routine, unaware that her private coordinates had been compromised by a silent observer.
We all know I've been dealing with a stalker situation lately. I know what he drives. I know what he looks like. I kind of know where he is at all times because, well, he posts his videos of where he's at. But maybe that has had me a little bit sketched out lately. But for me to be sitting here at my Jeep in this secluded spot right now, which I'm about to leave, and then that red truck just pulls up at the end of this dirt road where I'm at, and then just sits there. And I was out walking around the campsite filming.
A red truck materialized at the edge of the road, its engine idling like an unsettling growl. It simply sat in the distance, a predatory silhouette watching her every move from the shadows.
Well, when I saw the truck, I thought he was going to turn around or something, but no, he just sits there. So I took my phone and I put it up on my dashboard and I just started recording, just in case. So then I also come and stand by my Jeep, because we all know I have protection, so. And the truck just continues to sit there. And then when he pulls off, you guys can probably see it in the video, his window is rolled down and he's staring right at me when he pulls off. So just stuff like that.
The tension escalated as the vehicle crept past, the driver revealing a cold, hollow stare. No words were exchanged, but the realization was chilling. He knew exactly where she was sleeping.
I just had so much going on in my freaking life, and, you know, just so much negative things that if I would have shared the incident up at Mount Charleston with you guys, then you guys would have been like, oh God, not again. I'm just kind of, this is ridiculous, you know, like, this is what us females have to go through being out here. You know, the first few years I feel like just was easy peasy, and it's like lately I've just had so much going on. I don't know if these are signs or what. I'm over it. So now I have to leave and I have to go find me another campsite now. Because that, I'm not taking the chance of, you know, like, of him coming back at nighttime or something. Stared me down when he drove away. Absolutely ridiculous. I know I have protection and everything, and I'm not afraid to use my protection whatsoever when it comes to protecting me and my dog. I'm not afraid to use it. But I don't ever want to have to pull out my gun.
Haunted by a recent stalking incident, Asia felt her sense of security completely shattered. She began a frantic, heart-pounding pack-up, fleeing the isolation before the red truck could return under the cover of night. Sometimes your experience triggers others' pains, and that's exactly happened to her one viewer. The part that would creep me out the most is the fact he had a mask on. Why would you do that with nobody around if it wasn't to hide your identity? And then why hide your identity if you're not up to something nefarious? Madeline had been camping at a hot spring for several nights. Trucks came and went occasionally. She didn't think much of it until one night, everything changed. What started as a peaceful evening turned into the scariest night of her van life.
Oh my god, you guys. I think it's like 9 o'clock. I'm not really sure what just happened, but I took Athena out because she had to use the bathroom, and there was this... Sorry, I'm just really spooked right now. I don't think I should be filming. It is 1:30 in the morning. I'm at a rest stop right now. Tonight was absolutely insane. I'll try to explain what happened, and if I don't explain it right, I'll just do it again tomorrow. For the last couple nights that I have been at that hot spring, there have been trucks like coming and going, and I haven't thought much of it. I was like a little bit weirded out because last night there was a truck that was like kind of being weird. He would like park for a little bit and then drive around and then park and then drive around, like being really loud, and it kept waking me up. That's why I remember it.
At 9 p.m., she let her dog Athena out when she heard loud, angry yelling in the darkness. A man was screaming, "Are you scared? You should be scared."
Well, and he would like leave his headlights on, which are really bright out there because it's super dark, but I was like, whatever, like he's not bothering me. Then another truck comes. I don't know if it's the same person or if it's a different person, but a truck comes. I'm like, whatever, maybe this is just like what they do. So I let Athena out to go to the bathroom, and then when I let her back in, I hear like really loud talking, and I'm just thinking like, oh, like, I don't know, there's these people talking out there. But then I start to like listen to what he's saying, and he's like yelling, and he's like, "Are you scared? You should be scared. Are you spooked? You should be." Like, but like in a really mean voice and like really loud, because I can hear him and he's not that close to me. So he's like screaming it. I wasn't scared until he was like screaming that. I don't even know what he was talking about. Anyway, then he starts driving like a maniac. He like skirts out, and it's snowing, by the way. It's like super snowing and icing, and he's like driving all around, and he like circles around my van. Okay, so he circles around my van, and then he keeps going. And at this point, I've got the keys. Like, as soon as I heard like he was like screaming, I like grabbed my keys. As soon as I didn't see his lights anymore, I just like booked it out of there.
She wasn't scared until he started screaming. Then panic set in. He began driving like a maniac, skidding through snow and ice, circling her van while she grabbed her keys with shaking hands.
Luckily, like, he didn't follow me or anything like that. But I was just so nervous. I just like put in the GPS like rest area and just clicked the first one that I saw. It's dark, so I don't really recognize the area. Like, I tried to go back the way that I came, but I didn't really recognize where I was going. So I go 3 miles down this like random road, and there's these potholes, and I don't notice them right away, and it's too late by the time I notice them, and I bottom out so bad that my spare tire falls off of my van. And then I reach where I'm supposed to turn onto the freeway, and there's a fence. It's fenced off, so I have to turn back around. I finally make it out onto the freeway. I'm gonna talk about animals being hurt, and so if you want to skip this part, I'll put like a timestamp, like, yeah, where you could skip to. And there's...
The moment his headlights disappeared, she fled into the snowy night. She drove 3 miles down a dark road filled with potholes. Her van bottomed out so hard that her spare tire fell off.
It's like dead bunnies, like, all along this road. And it's so heart-wrenching and sad. And then I see this one bunny, and it's just got hit, I think. And you can see where it was hit, and it like flew across the road, and it's still alive. And then I just started like bawling. I just could not handle it. I guess I probably had just like so much pent-up anxiety from that guy, and then seeing like the rabbit still alive, probably in pain, was just way too much.
So yeah, I'm gonna go to bed now because it's 1:30 a.m.
When she reached the freeway entrance, a fence blocked the road. She had to turn back through the pothole-riddled path, spare tire gone, finally reaching a rest stop at 1:30 a.m.
And address some things that I did not address in my story. So first of all, because I know people are going to wonder, I am very well protected. Like, I'm not going to talk about it all on the internet, but I'm not going to stay in a potentially dangerous situation just because I can defend myself. I'd rather not wait and find out if the situation is going to be dangerous or not and just leave. Also, I know this, like, I don't know, isn't like so crazy, you know, it's not like a crazy story or anything, but it was very scary in the moment. It's kind of like when you have a nightmare and you wake up and you tell your dream to someone and it sounds ridiculous, but like in your dream you were terrified. I'm just glad I got myself out of the situation.
Days later, she explained why she ran instead of staying. She refuses to wait and find out if danger will escalate. In that moment, alone with a screaming stranger circling her van, terror was real.